Imagine sitting in your 80s and 90s and telling what all the things you did and what all experiences you had.
Especially how we survived the pandemic.
Especially how we survived the pandemic.
It is rightly said by Albert Einstein that in middle of difficulties lies opportunity. That can't be farther from the truth in these times. So, to present to you that opportunity riding the wave of virtualization which swept our planet, we, the entrepreneurship cell of St. Francis Institute of Technology, Mumbai, present to you Pragati 2021, which is going to be held virtually from 22nd of March to 27th of March.
A warm welcome to everyone watching us right now. I am Ramani.
And I am Dev.
Would like to welcome you on the day one live stream of Pragati 2021. Pragati is a national level technical and business plan competition which serves a platform to budding entrepreneurs and innovators to become market ready. We aim to grant students from all over the country an opportunity in the form of Pragati. Even world pandemic could not stop us, as well as the various participants participating from all the dimensions of our country.
Of course, we wouldn't be here without the constant support and motivation of our sponsors, without whom Pragati 21 wouldn't have happened. Pragati 21 is powered by Trippy Miles. Trippy Miles was established in 2018. Since then, they have escorted thousands of travelers to their desired locations around the world. It is also a leading tours and travels organizations in the field of incentive, leisure, and business travel.
Pragati 2021 is co-powered by AgriPay Solutions Private Limited. It was founded in 2017 by the excellent team of ex-bankers with over 15 years of experience. AgriPay is formed with the primary aim to offer easy access to online payment platforms.
Our consulting partners, CSB Bank and South Indian Bank. Our learning partners, Imperial Overseas Educational Consultants. Our consulting partners, CompuTrain Study Abroad, Mumbai. Our chief education partners, Infigon Futures. Now, Infigon Futures is an end-to-end student guidance and mentorship program which uses cutting-edge technology like AI, artificial intelligence, and deep learning to professionally guide 35 crore students across India at affordable price through their mobile applications.
Our fabric partners, Fabric Spa. Our industrial training and life project partners, Inmovido Technologies. Our education partners, Last Minute Tuitions. Our outreach partners, ProjectContest.com. Our legal partners, Lawyer. Our youth media partners, YouthInc. And our digital partners, Belgian Waffles.
This time, we have a scintillating lineup of 49 projects, an amalgamation of technical fields known to men. And we have divided them across 4 days, the 22nd, the 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th March. So what are we waiting for? Let's get into the projects.
To begin with, we have the low-cost portable ventilator by Father CRC College of Engineering, Mumbai.
Hello everyone, this is Team 20 from Father Conceição Rodrigues College of Engineering, and here is our technical presentation for the topic low-cost portable ventilator built under the mentorship of Dr. D.V. Poer. Ventilators play an important role when it comes to life support. It gives a time for establishing therapeutic management until the patient improves physiological balance. It has two general goals: to support the injured lung and protect the healthy one. Our problem statement involves that we build a ventilator that is capable of its most primitive functionality, and also it should be operational when there are power outages, when there is no electricity supply. Thus, we have an PMS unit integrated with the system.
So with the help of all these papers, we learned about what all problems were there in the previous ventilators. We also learned about different ventilator parameters and the BMS unit. We found out the current market scenario of the modern ventilators. Next.
Moving on to the block diagram, so we have basic 7 components. One is the input supply that we configure to the AC mains, battery power, and the solar. Then we use the Arduino Mega, that is the Atmega 328P microcontroller. We have 2 sensors, that is the BME 280 for pressure sensing and Max 30100 for pulse oximetry and heart rate sensing. Then we have an HMI display that will be a user that will be an interface between the machine and the paramedic. Then we have the 24-volt battery system configured for the portability function, and then we have a motor here for moving or driving the pneumatic system, wherein we'll be using a NEMA 23 stepper motor. Moving on.
So here is the battery backup and BMS unit. It is a 24-volt battery system. Basically, it is a lithium polymer pack, which is included with the embedded CMS units. These CMS units are considered as the standalone BMS of this pack. The full charge voltage is 29.4 volts. The nominal voltage is 25.9 volts. It gives overcharge protection, under voltage protection, short circuit protection, over current protection, and also over discharging current protection. We also have provided with the solar charge input module, which have a tolerance of 36 volts to 45 volts for the charging. The pack tolerance is overall of 35 volts because of using use of the CMS units. Moving further, this is the pneumatic compression unit and the AmpuBag unit. Basically, AmpuBag is a mechanical retractable bag which supports positive pressure to the patient. We have basically designed a derived mechanism from rack and pinion to support the mechanical assembly of our system. This mechanical assembly is used to press the bag and to generate a positive pressure. Moving ahead.
So these are our CAD models, which we have designed on the AutoCAD software. You can see the same 3D model in the next slide. On the left side, you can see a cardboard prototype, and on the right side is a PVC model mechanism of the same prototype. Next.
This is the individual cell testing. This was done during the construction of our BMS and the battery pack unit. This unit is completely tested and it works as per our desired desire, and it gives the required output and is robust.
Now this is the prototype video demonstration of the project, wherein we can see the compression and decompression of the AmpuPack. Now, then coming on to the bottom, we have the HMI display, which is a next-gen HMI display, which is capable of starting and stopping the system, and is also used to view and operate the various vital parameters, such as the breath rate in cycles per minute, then the volume, that is the tidal volume of air in and out, then the PEEP, that is the target positive inspiration pressure, then the heart rate, and the blood oxygen saturation.
The impact of the proposed solution. Basically, this model is aimed and developed as capable of functioning in low resources area in situations where there are frequent power cuts. So this model is successful in such areas because it can work on AC mains. It also has a battery backup, and it also has a manual utility. The model not only supports the positive ventilation for the patient, but has also monitoring systems to monitor the vital statistics of the patient. This unit is designed such that it is lightweight and has a backup enough to support the patient during the emergency transfers and in difficult situations. Moving.
So summing up what was said by us, we have these striking features. It has assisted breathing, it has portability, battery backup, and we have both manual and automatic operation. Speaking about the future additions that could be made to the product, we could incorporate IoT technology for remote monitoring. It could be advanced to a closed loop self-correcting system. We could make it more interactive, user-friendly system so that a non-paramedic can operate whilst being remotely surveilled by a medical professional. Here are the references that we have attached, and This was the gist of our technical presentation, and I'd like to mention one thing: we have not mentioned a person in the frame due to the 2-day time span that we had got. Thank you.
Next up, we have Pineapple Leaf Fiber Extraction Machine for Sustainable Development from KCG College, Chennai.
We, the PALFM team, presenting our project Pineapple Leaf Fiber Extraction Mission for Sustainable Development and also Multi-Fiber Extraction. The main objective of our project is to promote value-added agricultural products which helps the farmers in appraising their businesses. Currently, India produces 1.53 million tons of pineapple with a productivity of 15.3 tons per hectare. The Indian Horticulture Database shows that pineapple is cultivated at an area of 85.4 tons per hectare. In Tamil Nadu, the pineapple is highly produced in Namakkal, Dindigul and Kanyakumari. As you can see, the entire work process is depicted in the image.
The main aim of our design is to reduce the footprint of the machine than the existing ones. We designed our machine using SolidWorks software. The machine is designed to the human ergonomics by having a length and width of 63 and 22 inch and a weight of 60 kg, which was calculated using SolidWorks Evaluate. The critical parts of PALFM are the feed roller, serrated roller and the scratching rollers. The power to these rollers are transmitted via a A62 type belt from the motor.
Now, let's look at the various processes involved in the fabrication of the machine. The circuit diagram of the electrical setup is as depicted. We describe the actual process involved in our machine. We have used 3 different types of roller, that is feed roller, scratching roller and dual serrated roller. We have used 0.5 HP single phase induction motor and a pulley of 7 inch dia, and we use standard size of A62. We are transferring the power using belt drive. Now let's look at a glance at the electrical components. This is MCB, which is miniature control breaker, and this is rotary type switch, and this is kill switch. This is 2 status light, green color and this is red color. Green color is for machine is on condition, this is an emergency condition.
Once the pineapple leaves pass through the 3 rollers, the waxy layer is removed and the fibers are obtained at the end of the delivery chamber, which then passes through the conveyor belt and reaches the chemical bath. Now let's look at the fiber surface modification. The extracted fibers from the PALF machine which we fabricated undergoes 2 processes. First is the enzyme treatment at a pH of 6 to 7.5, which is followed by alkali treatment at a liquor ratio of 1:25 at 60 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. Now let's see the formation of non-oven from which the extracted and processed pineapple leaf fibers. Non-ovens are sheet or wave of structure formed by entanglement or bonding of fibers. For the bulk production of non-ovens, we get a profit of 3,335 rupees as shown in the graph. The construction and production of various value-added byproducts is as shown in the image. The antimicrobial property of the pineapple leaves are extensively used in the byproducts which we create.
The team aims to follow a business plan that is segregated into 2 phases. Phase 1 concentrate on the production of machine, and phase 2 on the extensive production of byproducts. And also the team aims to follow the limited legal liability partnership as it more advantageous for the director of the firm. As per the market strategy, the team has come up with an app and website to implement successfully. Here is a glimpse of the website and app that we have developed. Both impacts the direct interaction with the customer, and it helps in the development of the entire rural Indian farmers. The total cost that we have estimated for our mission is Rs 38,350. Table describes the comparison of PALF machine features with M1 machine and conventional method. The data shows that the production of PALF machine is high with 4,115 leaves per day. Solid report on the pulp wastage that is generated at the end of the delivery chamber post the fiber extraction. At an average, the pulp wastage generated with PALF machine is just 1 gram per 5 leaves when compared to 1.8 grams for M1 machine, thus reducing post-process waste generated. Summary of the various mask properties is put forth before you. The most affordable and protective mask with double layer protection is a PALF mask at a rated cost of 150 rupees, which can be worn in public as well as outdoor settings.
Now let's look at the various perks and impact of the PALFM mission. It meets Atmanirbhar Bharat Yojana of self-sustaining India. The project also meets United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Further, for technological advancement of the mission, we are planning to implement an automatic feedback mechanism to turn off the PALF machine. Once the machine was fabricated and the byproducts were developed, we went on to get the real-time customer feedback from the end users. The farmer from Kanyakumari was very happy with the way the technology has been developed, and also the medical practitioner appreciated us for getting involved and converting the waste leaves into eco-friendly and antimicrobial multi-purpose fabric. Our newly developed PALF mission is economically viable and user-friendly. It further supports bio-based economy and also usage of agricultural resources without exhaustion. Hopefully, our mission raises higher in the future.
Whoa, now that was something. Next in line we have MEMS Multi-Sensor Intelligent Damage Detection for Wind Turbines, which is an IoT based project by Sri Krishna College of Engineering and Technology, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu.
Hi, I am Sharan Raj from Sri Krishna College of Engineering and Technology, Coimbatore. I completed my final year project by using IoT. My project name is MIMS Multi-Sensor Intelligent Damage Detection for Wind Turbine by using IoT. My team members are Rahul Prasad, I am Sharan Raj, and Gurbaran. My guided ma'am is Manja Fatima ma'am. The abstract of our project is maintenance and repair of wind turbine. The structure have become more challenging, and at the same time, the SNCS has evolved into the large dimension are located in places with a limited access. So we avoid these problems. We are using the MEMS sensor for damage reduction in wind turbine by using IoT. Main abstract objective of this paper is to monitor and check whether any damage occurs in wind turbine. With the help of MEMS sensor, we immediately to report the authority with the help of modem. This project we are using both software and hardware. In software we are using ThingSpeaks. We can see ThingSpeaks. This is a ThingSpeak. We can see the slant value, voltage, temperature, and windmill fault. If the windmill is damaged, it will blow the red color. Now I am showing the hardware. You can see the hardware. This is hardware component. Hardware component I am using Arduino, power supply, temperature sensor, voltage, LCD, battery. I am using dummy windmill. I fixed my MEM sensor in slanting position. So we show the slant value is 278, voltage is 220. We show the room temperature is 30. So we can, if the windmill is damage occurs, it will show the damage, and at the same time, in ThingSpeak we can show the red color blinking. And I am using this code in Java Servlet. We can see this code. This is our code. I am using NetBeans in Java Servlet. We can see that temperature values, voltage, etc. Thank you.
Works as Arduino, power supply, temperature sensor, relay, battery. I'm using windmills and LCD. I fixed my MEM sensor in slanting. It shows the values are the voltage is 290, temperature is 20, room temperature, slant value is 272. And I am using softwares to show the values in software mode, or using ThingSpeaks we show the values. If damage occurs, it will blow. It shows the windmill fault. Yeah. Yeah, the windmill is damaged, so it will blowing the red color. I'm using Java Servlet. It is easy to testing the code. I'm using Java Servlet. If I run, it shows the values. Yeah, it shows the values are 25 and 3980. The room temperature shows.
Now we have Drishti 2.0 Smart Aid for Visually Impaired People from Atharva College, Mumbai.
Greetings everyone, I Mr. Rishabh Sanghai and my team are here to represent Atharva College of Engineering at SFIT's ECEL event Pragati 2021. Before introducing our problem statement, let me begin with an anecdote. It was during our trip to California that I lost my spectacles while playing on a beach. I was helpless and struggling to see things around me. Fortunately, we arranged for a spare spectacle and that saved my trip. The point here being, blessed are those people who have a good eyesight. In the words of William Shakespeare, he that is stricken blind cannot forget the precious treasure of his eyesight lost. By now, you must have guessed what we are talking about. Moving on to the problem statement. Globally, 2.2 billion people suffer from vision impairment, of which India accounts for 12 million individuals. Traveling alone and interacting with surroundings are extremely challenging tasks for these people. Constantly depending on other person for basic necessities is not always convenient. Moreover, blind people are often scammed and misled. Thus, they need assistance for security insurance to be self-reliant. The proposed solution herein is an AI assistant smart glass for visually impaired people. Object detection and recognition feature is provided to facilitate users in daily chores. Text-to-speech mechanism assists in reading text from newspapers or documents and provides feedback through connected headphones. Integrated Google Assistant for delivering instructions to the blind person is provided and provides instructions via connected headphones. The SOS command mode is provided to contact the guardian in case of an emergency. Here is the block diagram of our proposed system. On the left, you can see the input peripherals which include the HC SR04 ultrasonic sensor, the OV5467 IR cut camera, and Google Assistant APIs. While the right side indicates the output peripherals, and all the outputs are given via connected headphones through text-to-speech mechanism. The computing platform used here is Raspberry Pi 4B model. Here is a list of hardware components along with the pricing list. Now, here is a list of softwares used in the development cycle. This is the circuit diagram layout used in the development of our prototype. Now let's move on to the flow chart. The user can initiate operations in any of the 4 modes mentioned below with the start command. The outputs and feedbacks for each mode are given using connected headphones via text-to-speech output mechanism. The activation and deactivation for all the operating modes are given via voice commands, which makes it easy for the user to implement this model. The 4 working modes include walking mode, reading mode, Google Assistant mode, and the SOS emergency mode. A detailed explanation of these working modes will be provided by my teammate Shankar Varan.
Thank you, Rishabh. So let's check out the individual modes in details. The first mode, walking mode. It focuses on real-time image processing to recognize objects. Object detection is one of the core pillars of Drishti 2.0, especially behind walk assist and also the currency detection. Coming to the next mode, reading mode. Reading mode enables real-time text-to-speech conversion from any language to any preferred listening language. Moving on to the third mode, Google Assistant mode. We integrated Google API very closely with our compact hardware without compromising with any feature set. In our initial beta, we integrated functionalities such as calling, messaging, and navigation. We aim to design and develop special functionalities focusing on the needs of vision impaired users. And the last mode of current release is emergency mode. Emergency mode provides a simple yet most effective and impactful SOS delivery system to customizable recipients. We have also done market research of our competitors in this product line. Here is the brief description about them. Drishti 2.0 promises to be an indigenous product at an affordable price compared to its market competitors. Here is the first draft of our business canvas model. The simulation and results will be shown at the end of this presentation. Here is the CAD model draft we built using Tinkercad software. We aim to make Drishti 2.0 modular, which will provide easy upgradability and affordable repairing. Also, the model can be repurposed for different use cases with minimum firmware level upgrade. In such scenarios, the additional use cases will be warehouse inventory tracking using smart glasses, just like the prototype at DHL Smart Warehouse, and criminal identification to assist law enforcing agencies. We also plan to integrate features like Brailleboard integration, memory expansion to save long processing outputs, gesture control in further development cycles. This is the wide distribution of work among our team members. These are our achievements so far. Thank you.
Here's a small demo of a prototype implementing the 4 modes. First, the walking mode uses object detection algorithms to warn the user about the obstacles in front of them, provides directions using Google Maps API, and provides feedback via connected earphones.
Sir, this is Edith. Do you want to know what can I do? Walking mode, object detection mode, currency detection, reading mode, emergency mode.
Turn on walking mode.
Okay, sir.
Turn on object detection.
Sure, sir. There is a bottle left. There is a laptop in front.
Edith, stop.
Okay, sir.
Turn on reading mode.
Purple. Purple.
Edith, stop.
Sure, sir.
Initiate currency detection.
10 rupees detected.
Turn on emergency mode.
Alert mode activated. SOS started. Certain messages have been sent.
Hey Dave, from all these wonderful and ingenious projects that we saw today and we'll see along the way, one thing is for quite sure, that they do set a benchmarks for other participants, which is quite daunting. So, do you have any insider's tip or secrets for our participants?
I knew you would go that way. So don't worry, ECEL SFIT has come up with an interview series titled Anubhav, which has all the advice, tips, trade secrets and experience. What's better than to hear it from the ex-participants and judges of Pragati itself, who have been in those shoes and faced those challenges. So next up, we have a video from the Anubhav series.
Number one is do your research. You should be aware of what's going on in the market. Then number two, you should find innovation in your product because innovation sells. Number three would be consistency.
One is the networking. Second is the finding ideas and solutions to the problems. And third is the ability to present those ideas and also with connecting the people.
For being a successful entrepreneur, first skill you need to invest purely time in yourself. Like you need to be bonded with many skills and communication skills, researches and everything. So first of all you need to be like one man army.
My inspiration is Elon Musk right now because after looking at this life and also his aim to provide better facilities for the human lifestyle is I guess one of the key inspiration.
My inspiration is Gujarati motivational speaker and a very successful businessman, that is Sanjay Raval. And to answer the question why, actually he is not bounded by a source of income. He has minimal source of income and he invests it very wisely.
My life has changed due to Pragati. Pre-Pragati ESL had kept two sessions. One was how to pitch a business plan and how to actually make a business plan by Dr. Pranav Vyas. And applying those skills, I have also excelled in the Pragati B plan competition. After that, I have won several business plan competitions, majorly national levels as well. So yeah, I would like to say that Pragati had helped me tremendously.
Pragati has done pretty much everything that has helped me get off with the idea. I just had the idea, Pragati gave me a platform to build with it.
Pragati is a competition in which you can explore a lot of things and see various domains. So that's the best thing. Basically, entrepreneurs should invest their time first of all in research. Purely research. Like research should be so strong that whenever you enter the field or anything, you should have whole research like the back end, future and everything about it. So yeah, I would like to recommend research.
You need to be consistent. You need to have innovation. You should not lose hope. I mean, you should just stay consistent. Like you have to believe in your idea. Just because you present to somebody and they do not like your idea or they are not as enthusiastic towards your idea as you are, does not mean you leave the idea.
Okay, so I would recommend the budding entrepreneurs to invest the time in reading books and listening to audio podcasts, right? Also building the network.
Best experience about Pragati is working dedicatedly after the college hours.
All my experiences were best. So I would like to say that the pre-Pragati time, that is, we used to come to college at around 8 o'clock. We used to work till 9 or 10 and after college as well we used to work. So that was one of the very best experience.
The best would be the interaction that we had with the judges after the prize ceremony. We got to interact with quite a lot of the judges and they gave us insights about our idea, how we could make it better, what approaches we should have for approaching to the market.
I would like to say that this is the Pragati is online, so you have ample amount of time to actually make improvisations or maybe make new models. And last year, see, it was offline, so we had timings clashing with the college hours. So I guess this year you have ample amount of time to work on.
Pragati as a competition, according to me, it's all about innovations. So my piece of advice would be focus on innovation and try something doing new. Like that's an add-on point if you do something on social aspect and in stuffs of innovation.
Explore the world and think and try to make money out of something which is needed. Or if you can, improvise on something which is already there. Because in the entrepreneurship world, there's no much scope for iterative products. Either you have to innovate a new product or you have to innovate an already existing idea. So think about that grounds and yeah, all the best.
Welcome back to Pragati, powered by Trippy Minds and co-powered by AgriPay. That was such an insightful video.
Yes, I hope now some of your questions have been answered. But if you think that was all, don't worry. It just keeps getting better. Stay tuned for the next 3 days of this live stream as Anubhav interview series is here to stay.
Moving on, our next group project is from St. Francis Institute of Technology of a plant reading based application, which is an app that motivates people to plant trees and provide them virtual redeemable coins from which you can buy coupons in their app.
Hello, I am Preksha Prakash and I'm here to present our topic, Plant Tree Redeem Point Application. Our Android application is also called as PAID. Along with me, the other group members include Tripti, Neha and Anushri. Table of contents include introduction, followed by problem statement, followed by flowchart and demonstration, and to sum up the future scope of our project. Introduction. So what is PAID and what is our idea behind forming PAID? You must be aware of the fact that increasing industrialization has resulted in great developments, but it also comes with certain drawbacks. One of the major drawbacks is air pollution. Plants help to curb air pollution to a large extent because they are natural air purifiers. Do you know that statistics shows that approximately 3.5 billion to 7 billion trees are cut down every year? PAID is an Android application which encourages and motivates its users to plant trees in a unique way. On uploading a picture of the sapling, the user is rewarded with virtual coins which can be redeemed to buy coupons from our application. Problem statement. We want to develop an application which enables the user to log in, sign up, upload photos, rewards them with coins, and redeems these coins through coupons. We aim to develop an application using machine learning algorithm which will verify the image uploaded by the user. Flowchart and demonstration. The flowchart of our application looks like this. To begin with, start. Now, there can be two entries, one by the user or the admin. In the case a user signs in, he has two options, login or sign up. In the case the user is already a member of our application or he has previously signed in, he needs to log in, enter his username and password, and on entering the correct credentials, he will be logged in successfully. In the case the user doesn't have an account, he will have to create a new account and these details will get saved in the database over here. And again, the user will get successfully logged in. On logging in on the home page, we provide the user with a user guide. Now, this user guide is a manual on how to use the app, which will help the user navigate the app easily. Next, we have the option to donate money to NGOs. The user, if he wishes to, can donate the money directly to the NGO. Then following we have is start planting. Start planting will redirect the user to enter the details of the plant. Again, these details get saved in our database. On entering the details of the plant, the user is required to click a picture. Once he approves the picture gets saved in the app gallery. Or if he disapproves the picture, he can click more. On successfully submitting the picture, he will be received with certain virtual coins, and using these coins, he can redeem them and buy coupons and successfully leave the app. In the case it is an admin, he will have to again enter his login details, enter valid credentials. On entering them, he will be logged into the app and he can log in the database as well. Check the results, verify everything is working properly, and again successfully leave the application. So this sums up our flowchart. The next in line we have is the demonstration of our application PAID. Our app will look something like this on your home screen. Welcome to PAID. So you have two options, login or sign up. Enter your username and enter your password. We also have the option, in the case you have forgotten your password, we will send an email. We also have sign in with Google option. In a case you do not have an account, you need to sign up, enter your name, Enter your valid email ID. Enter your password. And on successfully signing in, you will be redirected to our homepage. Start planting. So your registration is successful. So this is our home screen, 3 options: guide, plant a sapling, enter plant details, get your location verified, click a photo, confirm the photo, put in the gallery, and done. Ta-da! It is that simple. After this, you must have earned some coins. You can view it in the rewards section and redeem it through the coupons. It's that easy. Next we have is to donate money through NGOs. Like I said before, you can donate money directly to the NGOs. Here shows a list of NGOs with their contact details. Next, you have the start planting option, a simple form wherein you are required to enter the name of the plant. A drop-down box is shown. In a case you are planting a tree that is, or a sapling that is not present in one of the options, you can type it manually. You enter your landmark or location, click on the camera. The app will ask the permission and your camera is open. Now in this case, we have clicked the picture. You approve the picture after this. App asks for a confirmation on confirming the image and getting it verified, which is very important. You have earned 100 coins. Now you can view it in the gallery. Aloe vera plant will be shown over there. Now the next thing we have is in the rewards section. You can see 100 coins and a list of coupons and the coins that you have collected, which is 100 in this case. Now, once you select on one of the coupon, you have bought that coupon, and from your the amount of the price of the coupon gets deducted. So now your coupon is, now the virtual coin that is left with you is 74. And you are getting your user details. That means a plant that you've previously planted, that is aloe vera. You can know about. You can check out your profile, your name and your email ID will be shown. And from here, you can log out the app. Now, another option that is available is, now once that you've already registered, you can now easily sign and log in. With this, we end our demonstration. Next in line, we have the future scope of our project. So in future, we want to make our coupons more and more attractive. And for this reason, we want to partner with various food chains and clothing brands. We also plan to tie up with various NGOs working with the purpose of motivating others to plant trees. To sum it up, we are developing an application and making a small effort of giving back to the environment by encouraging others to plant trees in a unique way. To conclude, I would like to say, reversing deforestation is complicated, but planting a tree is simple. Thank you.
Okay, before we go on, for those of you who have joined us right now and have missed on certain projects, can check out our virtual exhibition. Link is in the description below.
Well now, we have Smart Waste Management and Biotractor from RMD Engineering College, Tamil Nadu.
Welcome to our presentation. Myself Dhanush and my teammate Kishore. Our project UID is 1110 and our project title is Smart Waste Management and Biotractor. Let us discuss the problems identified. COVID-19 is mainly spread due to the people not wearing masks and sanitizing. The rise in price of petrol and diesel affects the standard of our life. Lack of technological development in rural India. Inefficiency of battery-based automobiles to withstand electricity for a long period of time. Lack of awareness in segregating the waste for protection of our environment. Let us see the methodology and working of our project. Our project is divided into 5 phases.
Face mask reduction, waste reduction and segregation model, incinerating vehicle model, automatic hand sanitizing model, and finally smart mirror. Initially, It checks that the person wears mask or not. If nose or mouth is visible, it alerts that the person is not wearing the mask. This is the code for mask detection. We are using machine learning and deep learning for making how to identify the mask. I am running the code. The code is perfectly executed. If I was not wearing the mask, it shows red rectangle around my face and indicates that I am not wearing the mask. If I wear the mask, it shows green rectangle around my face, indicating that I wear the mask. Face detection and segregation. We are using 16 volt DC battery which gives power supply to the whole circuit. We are using Arduino Mega as a microcontroller. This motor driver which activates the motor to run the conveyor belt. This is ESP8266 Wi-Fi module which is used to send data to the cloud. This buzzer beeps when the waste is segregated. This is the water sensor which identifies the wet waste. This LED display indicates all the action of the mechanism. I am starting the conveyor belt using start push button. Conveyor belt started moving. Stop push button is used to stop the conveyor belt. This is a metallic body which is kept near the inductive proximity sensor. Sensor senses the metal and pushes the DC gun forward. The metal waste is pushed into the bin number 1. This is the plastic body which is kept near the infrared sensor. Sensor senses the plastic and pushes the DC gun forward. The plastic waste is pushed into the bin number 2. Other wastes are moved into the bin number 3. Ultrasonic sensor is fixed in all bins and the level of the bin are shared to the cloud by ESP8266 Wi-Fi module. This is ThinkSpeak website in which the level of the bin is showed via cloud. Also we can share the location of the bin via cloud using the ESP8266. Incinerating vehicle. This is the DC battery which gives power supply to the Arduino Uno. The motor driver is used to control the motors. This is the capacitor. This is the power booster. LCD display is used to indicate the electricity. Power is generated from the solar panel. Other wastes are put into the box. Hot steam or fire is put into this box. This is the Peltier module which generates electricity when hot and cold body react together. Power from the solar cell and Peltier module is boosted and then used to control the vehicle. This is the Bluetooth module for controlling the vehicle using Robo Vehicle app. Forward, stop, backward, stop, left, stop, right.
From the idea of incinerating vehicle, we have developed BioTractor.
Hello Ram, what happened to you?
My leg is so paining due to driving the tractor. Breaking news. Breaking news. The BioTractor is introduced in India. This is helpful to farmers. The farmers don't drive this tractor. It is controlled by Robo Vehicle app. This we are using battery system, solar panel, Robo Vehicle app and incinerating vehicle. Overview. Ram, your problem is solved by this tractor.
Phase 4 Automatic Hand Sanitization. Using Arduino Uno, we are controlling this. When the sensor senses our hand, the servo motor starts rotating. Else, it stops and the lights are blown. This is the arrangement of the automatic hand sanitization. User need to sanitize their hand after segregating the waste. 5. Smart mirror for visual alerting. This is the smart mirror which can be kept in segregation center or in office for various purposes. We are inserting this monitor into the smart mirror. Raspberry Pi which acts as a CPU and controls the mirror. This mirror can alert the user who is not wearing the mask. You can see the photo of mine is detected. The level of the bin can be displayed into this mirror. And finally, it tells that the user to scan the QR barcode for giving some gift vouchers as appreciation. After scanning, I will be getting the coupon. Using this coupon code, user can get discount from Amazon, Netflix, etc. This motivates the user to segregate the waste and help globally.
Future scope of our project: using IoT, we can share the location of the filled bin using GPS to identify various other means of electricity from the waste disposed. To implement this technique in other mode of transport, to motivate people for segregating the waste in a cost-effective manner. We sincerely thank Pragati 21 for giving this wonderful opportunity. Jai Hind.
Next in line, we have portable potentiostat from AIS SMS COEP.
Hello everyone, this is Anurag with my teammate Gaurav Dude from AISSMS COE Pune. Today I'll be explaining you about our project Portable Inexpensive Potentiostat. Our UID number is 1105. Now every project tries to solve certain problem in our society. Similarly, this project deals with the solution for high costing equipments used in chemical engineering laboratories or various medical laboratories such as a potentiostat, and giving them a cheap and more precise alternative for the same. Now, what is a potentiostat? Potentiostat is a device which is used to detect unknown components of a chemical. That is, without knowing its name, you can detect what are the chemical components of a given liquid. Now, it can be also used to detect steroids in milk, steroids in blood, or any other chemical component in various food items or liquids. Now, what is the problem? The problem is this. You can see this is a Kaitley potentiostat and its price is around 6,93,000. Now, small educational institutes or various labs can't afford this kinds of instrument because of such a high cost. Hence, we worked on this for an year and developed a very precise potentiostat and giving accuracy of up to 92% and costing very less. That price I'll be telling you in the further slide of this video. But next, till then, let's understand what are the prices in Indian market of these potentiostats right now. Now see this. This is the seller, Indian seller on IndiaMart, and he is selling potentiostat for around 12 lakh rupees. Yes, it's a big number. Now, these are our Chinese suppliers, and what they do is they give the lowest price available on the planet, and they also are bound to sell it at $3,300 to $8,000. Yes, it's also a big amount, right? So what is the problem statement? Basically, there's a need of developing a miniature device for performing various electrochemical activities, like a potentiostat or galvanostat. Now, this is our final prototype. Note, this is not a product, this is a final prototype, engineered prototype. Now, what's inside this? Let's see in this picture. We have a Arduino Uno working as a microprocessor here. Secondly, we have a display. Then we have few op-amps which generally give output to the respective electrodes. Now, this we have a dual power supply required to drive these op-amps. Now, this we have a transformer to lower the AC voltage coming in. And this is the very simple electronic circuits. Okay. Now, how does this work? We'll understand it further. Now, these are our results. Okay, yes, these are results in an open source software, that is Arduino IDE. That is, we spent 0 rupees on licensing this software. And generally, market available softwares for potentiostat generally cost about 60 to 65,000 rupees for getting one license copy of a software. This we did in free, and this is a result from our own device. This is a screen print from my own laptop, so you can understand how cheap we are doing this. Now, these are the results of detecting 5 millimolar of potassium ferricyanide in a solution of 0.1 molar KCl. Okay, now this blue line indicates the potential graph. Now, how a potentiostat works is, it has 3 electrodes. the middle one is a reference electrode, upper one is a working electrode, lower one is a counter electrode. Now potential is applied between the working electrode and reference electrode, and the current is measured from the counter electrode. Now what happens is, depending on the qualities of the chemical in which the electrodes are immersed, the current is varied flowing from the reference electrode to the counter electrode. Hence, this variation of the current is studied according with the applied potential, and hence the electrochemical graphs are plotted. And depending on the graphs, the study is done, and we conclude that these chemicals are present in this chemical and these are not. So similarly, this red line is the graph of current flowing between the reference and counter electrode, and this blue graph is of the potential between the reference and working electrode. Okay, now here we have to observe two peaks. This is the positive peak and this here is a negative peak. When we put the two values of these two peaks in our formula, we get exact molar mass of the dissolved components in the solution. Now this is how the basic potentiostat works. Now how it works in our solution is, what we have done, we have used Arduino as a microprocessor here, and it actually drives the two op amps shown here. These are the anti-parallel op amps. Generally, these are the three electrodes, as I told: the reference electrode, the counter electrode, and the working electrode. These two op amps use these three electrodes. Now, what are our objectives? Our objectives are to make such a device that can detect the adulteration in various foods. That is, for example, take liquids such as milk. In milk, there's a lot of adulteration going on. By use of this device, we can a simple layman also can check what adulteration is there in his milk, and he can avoid eating the unhealthy food. Similarly, this can be used in various medical laboratories for blood or urine testing, and hence the time of processing can be decreased. Our one cycle gets complete within around 40 seconds, but in practical life, it takes around 2 to 3 cycles for one report to get ready. That is one sample to get processed. So processing time is also less. Okay, the accuracy of our device will be less as compared to the highly costly devices available in market, but it is not that bad. It's 92% currently, and we may increase it by use of high quality electrodes and so on. Now, how these graphs are generated? They are generated by our electronic device connected with this computer. Now let's check our device. Go slightly further. See, now see this wire connected to this device here, and see this. This is 0.5 molar potassium ferricyanide in KCl solution, 0.1 molar KCl. This is the electrode. You can see these are the three different electrodes in there, connected with three wires here, and these wires are going into this device. See this. These are the three electrodes: the counter electrode, the reference electrode, and working electrode, connected to the op amps, controlled by the Arduino. And we also have a display here, 16:2 LCD display, so that if you don't have a laptop also, you can get the readings here. You just have to note the highest and lowest value shown on the screen, and that's it. It's done. So this is how our model is working. The LED blinking here, TX LED blinking, show that the Arduino is continuously transmitting data to the laptop for the display. Let's go further, and I'll show you the recent updates. Now you have seen our device was around kind of a bulky, not that bulky, it's easily portable, but kind of big, right? So what we did is we worked for an year more, and from 2020 till now, we have developed a small size, only this much, a matchbox size device, on which we have kept our carbon electrodes inside, and it can be connected to your smartphone, not just laptop, smartphone, via Bluetooth. And how it works, let me show you this. This is currently under testing in ICT Mumbai. Let's check this. Yes, see, this is my smartphone, and this is our device. When I turn it on, now it's connected with the mobile here via Bluetooth, and this is the same solution. See, 0.5 molar millimolar of potassium ferricyanide. I keep it in the sensing part of the electrode, and we just have to start scanning and see how the graphs are plotted on the mobile. Now this is the beta application currently under development, and see, we are getting the graphs. This is the positive peak here, and this here will be a negative peak coming. See, negative peak, and this cycle will be keeps on repeating until it gets a final value. We have kept 3 cycles here. That is, this graph will run for 3 cycles, and then the output can be sent to cloud or anywhere it can be stored. In a memory card also we can store it. See how it works. So yeah, in Arduino IDE, the graphs were linear. That is, it gives positive cycle in one case, then negative cycle in another case. But here, it's actual graph of voltammetry. That is, it's a hysteresis safe. You just have to check it. See, now there will be 3 cycles completed, and then it shows that data is ready to send on the cloud. See. Yeah, the data is ready, and now we can send it to our cloud. See, data sent. So that's how easy it is. This is our final prototype. Now this can be sold in the market. Now before ending with the topic, can you just guess what will be the price of our prototype? Can you guess it? The answer is, our device costs just 4,500 rupees. Yeah, You have seen the lowest available device in India costs around 7 lakh rupees, and our device costs just 4,500 rupees. So yeah, this cheap is how we can design this system and help our student or research community or medical community by developing this device. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have automatic wheelchair from KJ Somaiya, Mumbai.
Hello everyone, this is team of automatic wheelchair. This is a low-cost wheelchair designed for the disabled and unprivileged. The future of this automatic wheelchair is that it can be operated by the patient itself without the help of any other person pushing the wheelchair. The patient can control the wheelchair using a joystick as well as a mobile app via Bluetooth. This makes the patient independent. The components used in this wheelchair are motor drivers, BLDC motors, Arduino Uno microcontroller, and lithium-ion batteries. The lithium-ion batteries is of 3600 mAh each, which can run for more than 24 hours in a single charge. Two separate batteries are used for respective motor drivers and BLDC motors. With the help of joystick, the patient can move the wheelchair in any direction just by using a finger. To use it with the Bluetooth, the patient or the operator needs to download an app and pair it with the Bluetooth module installed in the wheelchair. Then they can control the movements of the wheelchair with the buttons on the screen. The BLDC motors used are very efficient and its maximum speed is set to be 5 km per hour using the software. This wheelchair is very easy to maneuver at any place. The microcontroller used is also very reliable and it fulfills all the objectives required. The overall cost of making this wheelchair is 22,000, but if manufactured in bulk, it can be reduced to less than 20,000, which is less than the half of the price of wheelchairs available in the market. And these are the working videos of it. In this video, we are controlling the wheelchair using a joystick. And in this video, we are controlling the wheelchair using a Bluetooth app. Thank you for watching.
Moving on, we have a vision-based model using CNN and IoT for auto-driven cars from St. Francis Institute of Technology, Mumbai.
Greetings everyone, I am Vivek Srivastav and with me are Naitik, Dharmi and Sahil, and we are here to present our Pragati project which we have group number 1011, and our project topic is a vision-based model using CNN and IoT for auto-driven cars. As you all know, automobile manufacturers such as Ford, General Motors, Tesla and other companies such as Nvidia are investing millions and dollars in autonomous vehicle driving research. The benefits of a fully autonomous vehicles can go way beyond removing the need of a human driver. This will represent a shift on the way cities are planned, as fewer parking places will be needed, and most importantly, in a smart city with most of its vehicles being connected and autonomous, traffic optimization will be able to be heavily applied by coordinating movement. Our aim of the project is an implementation of a small-scale self-driving car considering the environmental factors such as road signs, traffic, obstacles, etc. The self-driving car will adjust according to the environment that we have created. Our model will be trained several times to improve the accuracy of the self-driving car. So, in a humongous country like India, where the population is more than a million, there is a farm need of autonomous driving cars to resolve the issue of traffic delays, causing issues to several people that use private as well as public transport. Government identifies the driver behavior or the error as a factor in 94% of crashes, which is huge number and one of the effective ways to reduce it by using self-driving cars. Higher the level of machine doing tasks, lower the level of accidents and risk to others. Anyone can monitor a self-driving car, be it a young one or a senior citizen. Because of traffic accumulation, there is a lot of energy that is wasted and self-driving cars ought to bring it down by 90%. So this is the whole block diagram of our project, wherein we have used Raspberry Pi camera, Arduino and an RC car. RC car is trained in a virtual environment. The environment is created by taking consideration of the real life situations. The camera at the top of the car captures the image and it is processed by Raspberry Pi. Image pre-processing is done using OpenCV. The image put is then taken and feature extraction takes place using CNN algorithm. The images are pooled pixel by pixel manner. This gives higher accuracy to the model. After pooling, the final output is obtained and the output is then sent to Arduino microcontroller. The controller reads the neural network output and simultaneously triggers the car according to the output. The car moves according to the signal received from Arduino. System requirements like hardware requirements are a Raspberry Pi 3 that we have used, a Pi camera, RC car and an Arduino. Software requirements is PyCharm, scikit-learn library, TensorFlow and operating system can be Windows or Linux. Now I will walk you through CNN, algorithm that we have used. A convolutional neural network or CNN is a deep learning algorithm which can take in an input image, assign importance, learnable weights and biases which are so called to various aspects objects in the image and be able to differentiate one from the other. The pre-processing required in a COVNET is much lower as compared to other classification algorithms. The architecture performs a better fitting to the image dataset due to the reduction in the number of parameters involved and reusability of weights. It works in 4 layers and helps in increasing the accuracy. So as you can see, at the left side we have an input layer. There are various hidden layers and then is the output layer. These are the results from our model. In the left we can see that the image shows the predictions that our model makes and responds, and the car accordingly responds. And at the right you can see when the camera sees the image is being loaded. Future scope of this project can be this model can be further developed by adding features like voice control to make it user friendly. Accordingly, we can use better camera modules and sensors such as LiDAR for accurate object detection, using algorithms such as one-shot detector which runs on computers with high specifications for getting higher accuracy for the model. These are the references through which we have completed our project. And
Armi Himani, and with me are Vivek, Naitik and Sahil. We are here today to present our project for Pragati 2021. Our group number is 1011 and our group project name is a vision-based model for self-driving cars using CNN IoT. So this is our model for the project. We are using ultrasonic sensor, we are using Arduino Uno, we are using Raspberry Pi 3B+, we are using Raspberry Pi camera version 2, and at the back of the car is the L289 EdgeBridge motor. So basically Raspberry Pi 3B+ acts as a mini computer which programs the entire car. Arduino Uno acts as a microcontroller. Basically Arduino Uno sends the commands to the L289 motor in which L289 motor will make the wheels run. Ultrasonic sensor is used for object detection. So this is the walkthrough to the environment which we have created.
This is the artificial environment that we have created for our model. This is the toy car that is placed. Then we have traffic signal here, and then there is a stop signal. According to these three things, our model car will learn accordingly.
This track is created
So this is the live
lane detection in our mind.
So this is a live demonstration of a model working. So now since it finds an obstacle, it will overtake that obstacle and move forward. Then it will detect a red light signal. So the car will stop after detecting the red light signal. The car will start moving the moment the signal is off, and it will follow the lane detection which it's doing right now. So it is taking a left. Now, since it detects a stop sign, it will again stop for 5 seconds and then move the moment the stop sign has been taken away from the path. The car is following the lane detection by it is trained using CNN algorithm. So the accuracy is not 100%. That's why it's going out of the path somewhere. So now it will detect a green signal and it won't stop since it is trained that way. And this is the final model working on which the car works.
Next, we have D-Monitor from St. Francis Institute of Technology, Mumbai.
Hello, we are Team D-Monitor. We are living in extraordinary times with the pandemic not looking to go away anytime soon and disasters occurring more and more frequently. The only thing that matters is our readiness to face the calamities. It is now more than ever that we use all the resources such as the humongous amount of data available on the internet at our disposal to prepare for any kind of disaster. For knowing the enemy is half the battle. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you D-Monitor, a smart system that uses machine learning and data mining to create awareness about disasters and thus saving lives.
Quick decision making is critical to reduce the damage caused by disaster. Decision makers and emergency responders need innovative approaches to exploit this large but unstructured, heterogeneous, and fragmented information shared on social media during disasters. Our project can be mainly divided into modules, which firstly involve data collection, storage, then come the parts of data processing using the different models, and lastly the part of data visualization and actionable outputs, which can give a valuable insight over disaster.
The first methodology is data collection and storage. We know that the internet provides a lot of sources that generate immense amount of news articles daily, and that Twitter is a great platform used by millions for getting different news, keeping up with current events and much more. So for our system, we scrape Twitter data and also the data from 9 different online news sources. The libraries like Scrapy and Beautiful Soap are used for scraping. Data is scraped continuously and it happens in real time, and it is an automated process. This data is then stored in Elasticsearch database, which is an open source search and analytical engine used to store large amount of data. The next process is news classification. The news articles that are scraped could contain topics of non-interest, so it is necessary to pick the disaster relevant and classify them as disaster and non-disaster news. For this, different machine learning algorithms were used to train a classification model. The trained model was then able to filter out the non-relevant news from the disaster relevant news.
Just having a disaster news article is not enough. We also need to know what location the article focuses on and figure out how to plot it on the map. We extract locations from the article using named entity recognition technique. This is implemented using Spacy, an NLP library. To convert the location name into map coordinates, we perform geoparsing. This is done using GeoPy, which is a Python client for geocoding services. Twitter, with more than 1 million daily active users, has breaking news earlier than mainstream media and cannot be overlooked as a source. We scrape tweets from the Twitter API by querying it with trending disaster hashtags triggered by disaster alerts. The sentiment analysis of tweets gives an idea about the overall public sentiment about an issue. Using the multinomial naive Bayes algorithm, we trained a classifier to identify whether a tweet is positive, negative, or neutral.
Next step is querying historical data. For this, we perform advanced queries on EMDAT data, which is the emergency events database that gives a historical outlook. The next is data visualization, that is the end goal of a system where interactive dashboards are made that displays all the outputs made using React and Node.js.
Here is a representation of all the modules we discussed that are coming together. Alerts, news, tweets that are scraped are stored in the database. This data is then processed by the classification, geopassing, sentiment, and trend analysis models. Our front end is built using React.js, where the dashboards are created, and they communicate with the backend that is built in Node.js that queries the database for the required data. This entire system is hosted on the Google Cloud Platform in the form of a virtual machine. According to the requirement of a disaster authority, specialized monitoring systems can be built which are catering to a specific location or a specific disaster. For our system, we have built a dashboard for the COVID-19 spread in Maharashtra, where we have shown a distribution using various charts and trends. We have showed the nearby hospitals, we have showed the news and tweets related to it, email notifications for the users who are opting in for the service, news summarization model which we are working on, which summarizes all the news that is coming in. Plus, we are working on more predictive analytics which can show where the spread is going and how the particular event is planning. So this is our front end where all our scraped data and processed data comes together and visualized. Let's say Shweta is a businesswoman and a job involves her traveling a lot. She can come to our site and see the disasters that are happening throughout the world. She can also filter out according to her location. Let's say she's traveling to China. She can see, okay, have there been disasters in China? Yes, there has been an earthquake recently. She can also filter out according to the disaster type. She can also see in the historical data what has happened in the last few days, what has happened in the previous week, to get an idea of where and how she should take care while traveling. She can also come down and see the news articles panning out according to the disasters throughout the world. She doesn't have to go online and see any other sites for news. She can also come and see the distribution of the disaster in the last 7 days, how things are playing out. Here, she can come and see which disasters are spoken about a lot, which have a maximum interaction. More the interaction, more the effect on the people. Here, she can come and see the tweets of the people. Here is saying Mexico tweet magnitude 5.7, and we can see actually there has been a disaster here. Now she's interested and she wants to see more in detail. She can go in here, get a much in-depth analysis of the disaster with some summary, with the location, with more analytics on the factors like magnitude. We can also get analysis of similar disasters occurred in the region before. Like here we can see last year there was an earthquake and also 2 years before that. So this region is earthquake prone. And here lastly you can see an analysis of the tweets of what people are saying on the ground and how people are feeling. So with this dashboard, people get an overall analysis of disasters happening throughout the world, and Shweta can plan accordingly her trip.
As COVID-19 is the current disaster that is affecting many people, we have created a dashboard that provides COVID-19 analysis of Maharashtra. Now imagine a user named Vikas who works for the government of Maharashtra wants to closely monitor the COVID situation in Maharashtra. Our site can help Vikas to get COVID-related news and updates. If he wants to get alerts related to COVID, then he can fill these details and he will receive daily updates on his email account. He will also be able to see the overview of the cases here. Now in case Vikas wants to get a COVID test or a vaccination, here he will be able to see the COVID hospitals in Mumbai. This map shows the case-wise distribution of COVID in Maharashtra. Now we also provide COVID-19 related news here, which is done using classification model and scraping scripts. So Vikas will not have to waste time scrolling through different news sites. Suppose Vikas does not have time to go through all the articles, we provide a news summarization which is still in process of the implementation. These are the few analyses we did based on the number of people infected, the number of people dead, the active cases, etc. Here we also provided the COVID related tweets.
We were able to achieve the following results: news classification with 87% accuracy, geopassing with 89% accuracy, Twitter sentiment analysis with 85% accuracy, and scraping from 9 news sites to alert sites and Twitter.
So I'd like to conclude by saying DMonitor is an automated system that leverages the power of AI and data science and comes up with the most innovative way of using vast amount of open source data available online for humanitarian relief. By providing a comprehensive picture of any disaster with the latest stats, historical calamities coupled with inputs from news sites and social media, all in one place, visualized for empowering citizens, leading to better preparedness during crisis. It provides disaster authorities, NGOs, and private companies a way to monitor specific locations or specific disasters with specialized dashboards, predictions, custom notifications at the click of a button. In the future, We would like to include services like risk assessment, which is used by insurance companies, by real estate people, and can be used by citizens too. Text summarization is something that we're working on to summarize the entire corpus of data that's coming in. We'd want to partner with actually a disaster authority and build a customized dashboard based on their requirement and bring in more actionable outputs like chatbots and more apps with prescriptive analytics based on the event at hand. Thank you.
And our last project for today, we have Watchdog from St. Francis Institute of Technology.
Greetings to everyone. My name is Harsh Rai. I am from second year Electronics and Telecommunication Department in Francis Institute of Technology. My team members, we are a team of two people. The other person's name is Shaunak Warde, and he is also from Electronics and Telecommunication Department, second year, St. Francis Institute of Technology. And the name of our project is Watchdog. So Watchdog is basically an anti-poaching surveillance platform using artificial intelligence. Now the problem statement. Poaching has been defined as illegal hunting and capturing of wild animals usually associated with land use rights. Poaching can be a serious threat to many wildlife species, particularly those protected in wildlife reserves or national parks. Many animal species have been limited in range or depleted in numbers, sometimes to the point of extinction, by the depredations of market hunters and unregulated sportsmen. Researchers and conservationists put out the camera traps in order to catch the poachers, but out of all the images captured, about 75% of the images have nothing in them. Sometimes it's the change of cloud cover that sets off the cameras and ends up in having thousands of images with no value at all. So our aim is to filter out these images with no values and send only the images that have actually some meaningful information within them. Now, how are we going to do this? So, Watchdog is a semi-autonomous forest surveillance platform that comprises of array of wireless cameras distributed strategically to provide the monitoring of key remote places within the sanctuary. So these key remote places are basically the most commonly used migration paths by animals, and which in turn means they are the most commonly used paths by or spots by hunters or uncontrolled sportsmen. Now, when a person is detected in the frame of video stream, that frame is forwarded to the database with a bounding box around the person and also the confidence is detected in percentage. These images can be viewed on the dashboard, after which the necessary steps taken to prevent the poaching can be taken. Now the project flowchart. So the project flowchart, the first stage of the flowchart can be seen as CAM ID, CAM underscore 001, so basically, or 002 or 003. So basically, these are different hardware IDs that are assigned to cameras during the time of manufacturing. So this is not universal, but this is what we have planned for our system. Now, these cameras perform object detection, and if they detect a specific object, they are we are basically using AI on edge. And when these cameras detect some person, they will send the image to the server. So there are actually two types of database. One is file system, which stores the image, and the other is metadata associated with the image that is stored in a NoSQL database, which I will discuss further. Now, then comes the dashboard. Dashboard is basically a web application, so you can access it from anywhere in the world if you have an internet connection in the browser. And then comes the admin part. So admin is basically the person who has all the privileges included, including the ability to create, user, add or remove the cameras, etc. While the employee is a person who can only monitor and produce reports. Now here is a peek at our dashboard. We will see it in detail very soon. Now this is how it looks. So we'll come to technology stack. So this is our team UID 1010. Now this is the dashboard. I will log in with the sample email ID that we created. Email address email.com. So this is the entry point of our project. So now we are in. So this is where most of the information would be displayed. Now, as you can see, this is the image. We had run the system last time at around, I think, 12:15 last night. So that is the last image that is present on the dashboard, and the nature of the dashboard is whenever the new images comes, you can see those images right here with the camera IDs and the time that image was taken, along with information associated with the image. So you will also have location of the camera displayed here, and basically we have provided some minor features like save button here, so you can use this to save the image directly. Now so yeah, this is how you browse through all the images. Now these are other features like when you go to network tab, you can see the camera. So all the cameras are offline as of now because it's been designed in a way that once it's been more than 8 minutes since 3 minutes since the image was sent, the camera will appear to be offline. Now when we click add camera, so I try to add camera. So I cannot add any random number. It needs to be of specific format and it needs to be unique. I mean, it shouldn't be already added on the dashboard. So I add this. It shows device added successfully, and this shows online because it's been less than 3 minutes since it was created. So if the camera doesn't ping to the server within the next 3 minutes, then it will appear on offline. Now the other part is access control. So here we can create new users. We can create new users. Basically, one second. I can select the privilege level of this new user and then add it. So here it is now. So this employee can now log in to his account and control his part or fulfill his part of the duty. So these other sections like the reports, archives, these are still being built. This reports part would be used to display all the data graphically in the form of basically charts. So let's say you have 15 cameras, so that would be a pie chart that will display how much intrusion has been detected on each camera. Thank you very much for watching.
After looking at all this project, one thing I can definitely say that Pragati is not for the faint-hearted. It is for the brave, it is for the courageous, and for the resilient. And as they say, all good things come to an end.
Whoa, Dave! It's not end. It was just a mere end of today's live stream. We have more exciting projects. For that, stay tuned tomorrow in the evening on the same channel. And for what it's worth, drop one of these and like,
Share, and subscribe. Bye.